Weeks passed. I moved, avoided family, carried the secret. My silence felt like its own betrayal. Then, a call from a stranger. "Is this Liam?" It was Sarah, another betrayed spouse. She'd found my number in her husband's phone. "I think my husband is having an affair with your girlfriend, Clara." But her husband wasn't Mark. It was David. Clara had been cheating on me with at least 2 men. Mark was Tuesdays and Thursdays. David was Mondays and Wednesdays. It was a schedule, a portfolio of betrayals. The scale was staggering. My heartbreak, my sister's potential ruin. We were collateral damage. Clara wasn't just unfaithful, she was a serial manipulator. The revelation was almost liberating. I wasn't just not enough, I was a victim of someone's game. As I hung up, I wondered how many others were there. The truth was monstrous. But at last, I was free from her web. I left without a word. I drove to my sister's house, the truth burning inside me. If I told her, I'd destroy her life. If I stayed silent, I'd be complicit. There was no good option. I sat outside watching her perfect home, paralyzed. In the end, I couldn't do it. Not yet. I drove away, the truth a heavy passenger. I broke up with Clara by text, told her to be gone by week's end. But the bigger problem remained. Mark and my sister's unwitting life. I'd walked away, but the truth waited. It wouldn't disappear. It never does. My mind went blank. Mark, my brother-in-law, family. He'd been in my home, at holidays, holding my niece. Clara had known the whole time. This wasn't random. It was a catastrophic betrayal. She hadn't just cheated on me. She'd slept with my sister's husband. The scale was monstrous. Why him? I asked. How could you do this to me, to my sister? She sobbed. I was weak. I never wanted anyone to find out. Her excuses were meaningless. Mark knew my schedule because I told him. They'd used my trust as cover. The second secret was worse than the first. The first broke my heart. This one threatened to break my entire family. I was standing at the epicenter of a bomb. He's married, Clara said, voice trembling. I barely reacted. Of course he was. You need to know who he's married to, she insisted. I was exhausted. Just tell me. Mark Thompson, she said. The name meant nothing. His wife is Jessica. Jessica Thompson. My sister's name. I stared, uncomprehending. She was my manager at my old job, Clara added. The realization hit like a punch. My sister, my brother-in-law, the man who'd been in my home, at family dinners, holding his daughter, my niece. The betrayal wasn't just mine. It was my family's. Clara's affair had detonated a bomb at the center of my world. I was numb. The man who'd replaced me was my own brother-in-law. The devastation was total. The confession was ugly. Mark was her boss, a senior partner. It started with lunches, then drinks, then more. He made her feel seen, she said. While I worked extra hours for our future, she was confiding in him. The betrayal was deeper than physical. It was emotional, too. She claimed she was going to end it, didn't want to hurt me. The logic was twisted. I asked what Mark had that I didn't. She described him powerful, wealthy, decisive. My insecurities flared. I felt hollowed out. I told her I was leaving, that I needed space. As I reached the door, she stopped me. There's something else you need to know about Mark. I walked up, unlocked the door, and entered. Clara and the man froze on the couch, laughter dying instantly. Silence. Clara's face cycled through shock, fear, guilt, resignation. The man, Mark, stood, awkward, realizing who I was. Liam, Clara whispered. You're early, as if that was the problem. I said nothing, just stared. I can explain, she started. I cut her off, looking at Mark. You should go. He left, barely meeting my eyes. Alone, Clara broke down, sobbing. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. I showed her the Wi-Fi logs. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Clara. In our home. Don't say it meant nothing. Her tears stopped. She stared at the evidence, color draining from her face. She was caught. There was no way out. The apartment felt empty, ruined. I felt nothing but cold clarity. The truth was out. There was no going back. Why? I finally asked. She hesitated, then began to confess. The story spilled out. Her unhappiness, Mark's attention, her loneliness. But I saw the choices she made, day after day. She wasn't a victim. She was the architect of this disaster. I told her I needed space. I packed a bag and left. My phone buzzed a text from Clara. all sweet emojis and lies. The hypocrisy was staggering. I needed proof, something solid. I remembered the Wi-Fi router log she'd set up for security. From the parking lot, I logged in. There it was, Mark's iPhone, connecting almost daily for 2 months. Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, always when I was gone. The data told a story of routine betrayal. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a secret life, right under my nose. The digital ghost had a name. The evidence was undeniable. The shoes, the laughter, the music all confirmed. There was no more room for doubt. I was no longer just heartbroken. I was an investigator in my own life. The question wasn't if she was cheating, but how I'd confront her. The element of surprise was gone. I now held the truth, and it felt like a weapon. I took a breath, steadied myself. It was time to go back upstairs. I backed away, breathless, the door clicking shut behind me. I drifted down the stairs, mind racing. Who was he? How long? Was any of it real? The signs had been there. Late nights, guarded phone, new jokes I didn't get. I'd ignored them, blaming stress, believing in us. Love makes you blind and foolish. Her words from weeks ago echoed. I could never cheat. The lying is worse than the act. Now, I sat in my car, takeout leaking, flowers wilting, watching our apartment window. I imagined them inside, each scenario a fresh wave of pain. Rage built, at her, at him, at myself for not seeing it. But I couldn't run. I had to face the truth. I had to go back up there. I had never had to know. The key felt wrong in my hand. I stood outside the apartment door, flowers in one hand, takeout in the other. The hallway was silent, except for a faint, unfamiliar, melancholic melody drifting from inside. My heart pounded. Something was off. I told myself not to be paranoid. We were happy, right? We just talked about getting a dog. But the silence between the notes felt accusatory. I put the key in the lock and turned it. The door opened a crack. My excitement twisted into dread. Through the gap, I saw a pair of expensive men's shoes by the door. Definitely not mine. My own sneakers looked pathetic beside them. The music grew louder. I heard a man's laugh, then Clara's. Higher, breathless, different. My hand froze on the doorknob. I could run, pretend I hadn't seen or heard, or I could walk in and face whatever was waiting. The smell of Thai food was suddenly nauseating. The roses felt like a joke. I'd flown 5 hours to surprise the woman I loved. In that moment, I realized I was about to walk into the wreckage of my own life. The surprise was on me. In that instant, my world shattered. There are moments that split your life into before and after. The line was drawn. There was no going back. This was mine. I stood there, paralyzed on the threshold of the end. The door to my old life was closing, and then I stepped back. I sat in silence, the weight of everything crashing down. The apartment was empty, but my mind was racing. Memories of happier times flashed before my eyes. Was it all a lie? My hands trembled. I wondered if I could ever trust again. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of my pain. I felt invisible. My phone buzzed with messages I couldn't bear to read. I walked in the rain, letting it wash over me, hoping for some kind of cleansing. But as the storm passed, I realized I had a choice. I could let this define me, or I could move forward. The sun rose on a new day. I wasn't healed, but I was still here. I started to write, to process, to heal. This wasn't the end of my story. If you're watching this, know that betrayal doesn't have to break you. You can survive. You can rebuild.